Good morning. Sorry, good morning, everyone. Or good afternoon, wherever you are in the world. Welcome to today's live stream. Finally getting a little bit of action starting to roll around towards the end of the week. Start of the week, it was very flat. Today, we're starting to see a little bit of upside in the markets. And the reason being is, well, we could see the look at the VIX. We're on the VIX at the moment, so we'll discuss a little bit of what's going on here before we move over to some charts of interest. But hello, everybody. Good morning, Denise. I hope everybody is well from wherever you're watching. I'll give it a couple of minutes as usual. I am still in my setup where the internet isn't that great at the minute, and my webcam is still not arrived yet. So yeah, no replacement there. I'll be back on my old setup next week, so back to normality essentially. So hopefully you can still hear me though. Hopefully everything's all good. Like I said as before, we may get a moment where the internet drops out, but it'll be for like 20 seconds, 30 seconds, and then it will jump back in. So don't rush away. So yeah. So who we got in today? So we've got Denise, morning. Balance Bees, hello. Vincent, good afternoon. Hope you're doing well. I'm well, thank you. How are you? Yeah, definitely, Denise. I haven't really taken all that much, I must admit, this week. I think when I'm not 100% sort of sure on anything, I tend to stay out a little bit. So I haven't really been in too much. So yeah, just been kind of waiting. I think it's been a pretty good week to sit around and wait, to be honest. Hi, Justin. It's been one of those weeks where it's been a bit choppy, hasn't it? So not a bad week for somebody to not trade really, or to take off, do some analysis. Yeah, absolutely, Denise. Very good point. First day of the first week of the month, first week of the third quarter. Not a bad week to just relax. I think the market's digesting it all as well, to be honest. There's not really been, like I said, there's not really been much movement until today, really. We're going to check out the dollar index in a moment. Good afternoon, Carrie. Hope you're well. Hello, Peter Paul. Welcome to the stream. If you are new around here, please leave the stream a like or subscribe to the channel. Really helps. Helps us grow. Helps us bring in great guests. Right, let's kick it off then. So I'm not going to hang around too long today, just because of those internet problems. But we'll see how far we get. I'm going to kick it off with the volatility index. Obviously, volatility has been moving lower lately, and we've basically seen the risk on markets coming into play, haven't we? So when the VIX tends to move to the downside, we do tend to see the market in more of a risk on situation. We've now had a bit of a aggressive move here in the VIX. So is that telling us that there is a little bit more risk off coming back into the markets? Now, we can kind of see that if we just go over to the likes of Aussie yen. So I'm just going to go to a daily chart on Aussie yen. Aussie yen's a really good currency pair to watch when you're looking at risk on, risk off. Okay. And you can see here, we are a little bit choppy, but today we've had quite an aggressive move to the downside. We're still kind of trading around about this 95 spot 50 handle. But, you know, if we were to take a look at this from a weekly perspective, you know, we could argue that maybe we're starting to come back into a bit of a retracement phase here after the market broke through those highs at the 93 handle, broke through the highs at 95.40. Are we now seeing a little bit of a potential retracement phase back to some support. So that's going to depend on like if that volatility index can continue to rally. Can we then have a little bit more of a risk off environment? Can that drive the market a little bit lower here? Who else have we got in? Hi Ali, hi Codit. Hope you're both well. Emmanuel, hello. Watching from Nigeria. Hello. Thank you for watching. Rai Guy, good afternoon. Hello, Ali. Yeah. Good to see you in the stream. So we're going to be checking out some charts of interest as usual. Going to have a little look over at the stock markets as well, because when we see that volatility index start to move higher, we should see the stock market start to drop as well. And we've seen that as well today. So again, are we starting to see these signs that the market is starting to head into that little bit more of a risk off scenario? And if it does, are we going to see some kind of reversals coming in for our pairs? Now, it's quite interesting because dollar yen is under that 145 handle at the moment, just through here. Now, the 145 was the sort of rumored level that the Bank of Japan would intervene at. And it's quite interesting to see that we've started to see a little bit of a drop now. Dollar yen might be a little bit skewed because we have had some dollar data out today. So just having a little look at that now. We've got, what did we have out today? So we had the ADP non-farm employment change. That came in at 497. So that was a huge jump in the ADP non-farm employment change. That wasn't something that I was anticipating, nor was the market. The forecasts were 226, and it came in pretty much double, or near enough double of that. What else did we have? Unemployment claims. They came down, but they were around about forecasts. ISM services PMI came in at 53.9. Previous was 50. So that's quite interesting there, considering anything above 50 is considered expansion, anything below contraction. So that's shown that the sort of economy is building, or sort of is healthy, which is kind of not what you would expect when the Fed have continually hiked rates. It's almost like if we do see really good jobs reports going into tomorrow, what does that say about the economy? It will say that the economy is a healthy economy, when really speaking, we would now be expecting some kind of, at least some data to back up the fact that they have raised interest rates so aggressively that it would be having a knock-on effect in the job market, the labor market. And we haven't really had that. There was I think there was one blip, but ever since then, we've had really strong jobs data. I mean, you've got the ADP coming out at 497. Now, ADP is released on the first Wednesday of every month, right? Now, this data provides sort of an early look into the employment on NFP. And so it's quite interesting to see how that has come out quite aggressively higher. Is that going to be the same for non-farm employment change now going into tomorrow's trade? And if it is, how will that affect the US dollar? It could have a great effect on it. Hi, Archie. Yep, Denise, there's still a lot of signs on shops begging for workers here. Okay, that's interesting. So it's showing that demand is still there. Codit, one of my mentors showed me the 12-month chart of the dziဆီiitu, indicating more dollar strength possible to 109, maybe higher. Okay, cool. That could be a potential move. Vincent, what's likely impact of ADP numbers on non-farm? It's just basically a indicator of what could happen non-farm. So usually if it was to be a little bit, it's not always the way, but if it was to be a little bit higher, then it's almost like a prediction that the NFP will come in higher as well. Hi, Mohammed. Hope you are well. Yeah, let's go check out that dollar index. So we are pretty much trading within this Right, back online. That was the 20-second internet blip. So if you did stick around, then thank you. 3 days short, FR40 and S&P short today. Nice, Caro. Nice. Yeah, so trading between that 101 handle, that 105 handle, we are technically in a little bit of a range there. I mean, looking at the sort of price action at the moment, it's pretty directionless here on the US dollar, isn't it? I wouldn't say that we've got, a strong or weak dollar at the moment. We're kind of just hovering in between those sorts of levels in there. And usually an accumulation can lead to something, big happening, right? Now, if we look at it from that sort of fundamental perspective, if let's say the jobs market comes in a little bit hotter than anticipated, we get the jump in numbers, we get even the I don't know what the average hourly earnings are actually forecast to come in at. Let's have a quick look at that. Average hourly earnings are meant to come in at the same, but maybe we see a jump in average hourly earnings, maybe a decrease in unemployment rate. That's usually a positive for the US dollar anyway. However, we probably would see some kind of anticipation then that the market would be pricing in maybe another move by the Fed. I think if we have a little look at what the Fed tool is saying today, it is saying that in the month of July that there is a possibility of another hike. Okay, so expecting the federal funds rate to be at the 5.5 or 5.25 to 5.5%. That's a 94.9% move. So at the moment, it's between 5% and 5.25%. So yeah, the market pricing in that potential rate hike at the moment. And if that's the case, and the labour market then backs that up, I don't see why we can't see some improvements here to the US dollar. Now, this week we were talking about the sort of 103 handle being quite important. And if we were to trade below the sort of lows here at the 102.75, then we'd know that the market was probably going to swing in favour of some dollar downside. If we stayed and remained above 103, we're a little bit more on the bullish side of the US dollar. And you can see, we've had these kind of jumps now. Obviously, these are news-related moves. But if the dollar does start to strengthen off the back of that potential rate hike coming in or being priced in by the market, then there's no reason why we can't see a move maybe up into the 104s and even into the 105s for the US dollar. I think we've just got to be a little bit mindful that the market's kind of coming up into the 103.60 we're rejecting here, and the fact that we're basically in this little trading range within the overall range of the market, within a bullish channel. So it's not particularly an easy market to target at the moment, the dollar, because the news has been so kind of frequent that the market is just kind of reacting to it. So it'd be interesting to see what happens going into NFP tomorrow. I think after that ADP figure has been quite strong, there could be a real good possibility that non-farm payroll is going to be quite strong as well. So if that's the case, what could happen to our major currency pairs? Well, if we take a look at Euro, US dollar, again, very similar market sort of sentiment here. We're kind of trading in a bit of a pattern there. We've got some lows at the one spot, 0.850. We've then got the sort of trend line coming down through here. If I was to go to a 4-hour time frame, we're just really consolidating into some kind of potential build-up. I feel, there's opportunity, I think, to see price break out in a particular direction. Now that to me looks like it could be a bit more bullish in terms of the way that's setting up, but we'll have to wait and see. I think the dollar could potentially strengthen, so I wouldn't really technically be looking for the breakout long here on euro dollar. Caro, always hard to evaluate all info and pick the good ones. Maybe better to do high time run. Yeah, absolutely. I think, for me as well, I always like to trade with strength and weakness on my side. So, like I said earlier, the dollar index is pretty much sideways for me. Although I'm expecting maybe a little bit of strength, it's sideways. So, it's not a particular market that if I was going to go and put some money into the markets, it's not something that I would potentially look at. I'd be looking across the board at some of the markets of interest. So, for instance, if we go take a look at, what did I look at this morning? Euro pound, for instance. I was looking at euro pound. Pound got a little bit stronger off of this morning's data. So, we had this morning out of the UK some manufacturing PMI, I think it was. Let me just open up my filters here. Thursday. We had some construction PMI, sorry. The construction PMI came in a little bit lower than previous, actually. So it was a bit of a negative data. But at the start of the week, I was looking for a little bit of pound strength. We were looking at euro pound to see if it would come down to the downside here. It's just that it was very close to supported level. So, yeah, stayed away from that market, but would have had a nice sort of move down there. Pound yen as well. Starting to see a little bit of downside in pound yen. Again, is this the start of seeing that sort of crest over now? I think, if we are going to see that volatility index rise, stock markets begin to fall, then we may have some yen strength to come into the markets. Now, obviously, yen is super weak fundamentally. So are investors going to be convinced that that's a long-term pullback? Probably not. Okay. Probably be more of a short-term move, and before we see maybe the yen start to weaken once more. But it might be a welcome relief for those traders short in yen at the minute, because they may want to anticipate some further opportunities, and they've probably found it a little bit hard to get in on these moves at the moment because they've been so aggressive. So if we were to get sort of a weekly pullback, or even a daily pullback into some key structure points, then the market may welcome that with some further opportunities to come. Right, guy, I was in PanCAD this morning, took my profits and bounced. Nice. PanCAD. I actually watched PanCAD this morning as well. We've got CAD that's coming in a little bit weaker on the strength meter. I was actually looking for a little bit of an opportunity on... Sorry, guys. Was it Aussie CAD? It might have been Kiwi CAD, actually. I was looking for a bit of an opportunity on, but I don't think that has played out either, to be honest. I think Kiwi CAD is a little bit on the reversal side of things. Again, if we're thinking it in terms of risk on, risk off, what currencies are affected by that? Well, Aussie's usually affected by that. Kiwi's usually affected by that. If we take a look at the price of oil as well, oil can often feel the effects of a risk on, risk off market. I know this has had its own dealings today as well. I had OPEC meetings, so haven't quite digested the information from that yet. But those type of sort of kind of commodity based sort of reactions, those stock market reactions, currency reactions, could give us some opportunities. So, might be a good idea to start watching those yen pairs for a little bit of a reversal. Now, I was actually watching CAD yen for a reversal today. So let me just break this market down. It didn't come up towards my entry though, but this is something that I'm interested in now. So CAD yen has been on our watch list for a good while. We were pretty much long since 104.50 as well, targeting the sort of, well, the overall target was 110. We didn't quite make it there, but we did get to these highs, which were the 108 spot 80s, or you could say the 109 handle. And you can see, look at that weekly sort of doji candlestick. That just shows that indecision was coming into the market. Let me just get rid of this ATR a second. That was showing us that the market was kind of indecisive at these highs. So from a technical perspective, you could have been eyeing up a bit of a short here anyway. But if we go to our sort of 4-hour and daily time frame, look at the daily time frame, look at this consolidation up here. That's the indecision in the market. We're breaking out of that now. So I'd actually be interested to see if we get a bit of a pullback. You know, at the end of the day, price has gone sideways for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 days before breaking to the downside. So that tells me that sellers are active here, and they are the sort of winners of price being at that point. So at one point, the market was finding fair value here because it was moving sideways. Okay. I mean, now we've got that breakout to the downside. It could start offering us some opportunities. Now, like I said earlier, I was looking for a bit of a short at 109, which is just about here. Okay. So I was looking to see if there was any kind of opportunities around 109. Nothing came to fruition as of yet. So I'm still watching 109. So I might need to change this up here and just pop in 109. 109. Okay. Because that's the sort of area I'm really interested. You can see we've got the potential for the 20 and the 50 to start rolling over as well. And maybe we'll come a little bit lower in price. You know, if we look at it from a daily point of view, previous daily highs are at 107.45. Sort of a decent level of support at 105.72. Well, you've got that kind of major level at 104.50. So there is some scope for it to move to the downside. It's just how aggressive is it going to move, and our market's going to see this as a pullback rather than any kind of change in sentiment, because in theory, Bank of Japan hasn't changed anything. It's just that the market's now seeking a little bit of safe haven protection in the market, and for whatever reason, yen is that safe haven. So it'll be interesting to see how this one continues to play out, but I've got a feeling that we could see a little bit more downside to CAD yen. You know, looking at the hourly time frame, we've got beautiful crossover of the 20 and the 50. We've had a couple of retests of that 20, showing the market is in pretty much a strong downward trend. So it's, can you take advantage of a downward trend forming? You know, so yeah, it'd be interesting to see how CAD yen plays out, whether the market does see it as another chance to buy in. Right, guy, looking at Kiwi Swiss, how do you put your dotted lines with the value? So I use a trend line, right? And then, so if you just, so the trend line can move anywhere, but I basically put it in an area of interest. So let's say these highs in here, which go to a lower time frame. So let's just say these highs over here, and then you right click, go to properties, go to parameters, and you can see it says 107.55. So I like to round it to sort of either 107.50, or I'll go to 107 spot. I'm putting here 25 or 75. Yeah, and then what I tend to do is I'll mark that up with a label. So if you go to this tab here, left price label, just click anywhere, and then I can put that 107.50, so I know that's the level we're kind of coming up to. Hopefully that made sense. July seasonally strong for the yen. Yeah, I haven't looked at many seasonals actually. I should have done that, considering we're coming into a new month. But yeah, I haven't looked at any seasonal analysis actually. Dropped the ball there a little. To be fair, I've been so yen focused that, you know, the only thing that's really catching my eye now is the yen sort of reversal opportunities that are forming. So yeah, we already talked about kind of, well, we briefly discussed sort of pound yen, but this is another market that could start to sort of roll over if we do start to see this reversal move by the yen, driven by that risk off coming into the markets, then yeah, dollar yen could be the one to, or sorry, just yen in general could be the one to watch. Try and pair that up with some stronger or weaker currency pairs to potentially get something out of it. You're welcome, Caro. So yeah, we'll see what happens with pound yen as well. Pound yen not as aggressively sort of short as what CAD yen was there, showing you that CAD's a little bit weaker at the minute. We've got a good level running through at the 182.26. So let's see if there's any kind of trend line situation going on. Let's see if there's like a channel. No good. But yeah, very similar to all the other markets though. If we were to get some kind of breakdown through 4-hour lows, crossover of the averages, that could be good for a pullback down. And then yeah, we'll see what happens. See what happens after that. Aussie yen we've kind of already discussed. Euro Oz now starting to flag a little bit back to the upside here. I did take a loss on Euro Oz last week. Tried to jump in on the trend continuation move a little bit early. But you can see we've kind of broken through this bearish channel. We've actually retested the channel resistance as support. So we could expect a continuation here. Looking at the 4-hour time frame, we've still got the 20 and 50 moving average intact. In fact, there was a couple of opportunities to get long either above those highs, which wouldn't get triggered. Above these highs would be triggered just now. So you'd be about 60 pips in profit. Ultimately, though, you could just go to a lower time frame. So you can see the hourly time frame does get respected quite a bit on these 20 and 50 moving averages. So if price was to come back down here, maybe into the 163.50, this could be an area where we do start to see some buyers coming back into the market. Mohammed's where to see the strength meter. So you can either go onto YouTube, go to the week ahead analysis video, or if you have a look at this, is it this one? I don't know if I'll be able to actually share it with you. Let me see. I'm using a bit of a different screen while I'm away, so it's not my usual setup. Let me see. Can I add anything in there? I might have to wait until next week before I share that with you. I can't share that part of the screen. What do I think about dollar CAD? I guess dollar is sideways. CAD's a little bit on the weak side, so maybe better dollar CAD higher. If you're looking at it in that time kind of terms. Let's have a look at that weekly again. Let's have a look at the monthly. Yeah, weekly is quite interesting, isn't it? Just because you've got that sort of area through here. See what 75 looks like. Try and deselect everything. Yeah, nice. So 131.75 acting as a bit of a support at the moment. Again, it kind of looks like one of those bullish patterns, doesn't it, where you get an interesting sort of rally to the upside. We've then had chopping consolidation. Are we going to see another sort of bullish rally here? But yeah, with CAD being pretty weak, dollar moving sideways, We've seen a little bit of a shift here with dollar CAD moving higher. To be a market I'm particularly interested in, maybe. But like I said, I think there's better options than the US dollar at this moment in time. Plus, we've got real big dollar data coming out tomorrow. We've got big CAD data coming out tomorrow. So yeah, I prefer more CAD yen, to be honest. You can see this kind of head and shoulders pattern, can't you? That's been developed. We've broken through that as well. This would have been your sort of neckline in there. I think if you went lower, maybe into your 4-hour time frame, you've got your 20 and the 50, maybe a pullback into the 132s, one spot 3280s. Could be an area of interest for people, definitely. Possible break and retest for dollar CAD, yeah. Maybe this area here, this little head and shoulders pattern. Maybe 133. Might look a little bit better on the hourly. 133 perhaps. No worries, Mohammed. It's just I'm on a little bit of a different setup at the moment. If I was at the one at home, then I would have sent it through to you. So apologies for that. If you want to learn how to make your own strength meter, though, you can go on to. I'll put a link actually in the little text box there. Let me go to Blueberry Markets. We go live. We did one on how to learn how to build your own strength meter. So if you take a look at this, put it in the chat. Where are you watching from, Mohammed? Yeah, on YouTube. You should be able to get this message popping in. It's a little link to another live that we did on how to build your own strength meter. So yeah, if you want to check that out, feel free. Pullback on dollar CAD sounds great. Yep. Denise, next Wednesday's CAD rate decision might get a pullback then. That's another good point. Yep, definitely. Might get another pullback on the rate decision. We'll expect some kind of bit of volatility maybe coming into that sort of decision. Any other markets of interest? So let's take a look at gold. We did talk about the potential for gold, but wanted to see it above 1930. Came right into that 1930 and rejected. We're down now 3,100 points from that level that we pointed out. So no good on gold. We're going to have to sit and wait to see how that one does start to perform there. Euro Kiwis come back a little bit, but not in particularly the right areas. Yeah, Kiwi yen starting to break down. There's some stocks that we were looking at. Yeah, be an interesting stock market shape up there. I think we're going to start to see. Well, I do expect to see the stock market, start to move a little bit lower. We haven't quite seen that. We've been quite aggressively higher lately. So again, is that going to be a bit more of a short-term move? Oops. Oh, guys, I just realised I could probably show you on the screen. There's Vincent looking at CAD Swiss. There's Denise. Next Wednesday, the CAD rate decision. Have I only just figured that out? Right. Good question, Margot. You're still interested in pound US dollar to the upside? Yes. A little bit. Depends on how the dollar performs. Again, I'm a bit, if I'm looking at pound strength, could I look at pound maybe against something else at the moment? I did like the idea of being a buyer about 127 sort of 30s. But yeah, we've had the crossover technically. Price is technically kind of set up in the way that I would like it to. Weekly still could reach the 1.3 handle. So it's again, I'm just kind of waiting to see how does that dollar catalyst kind of play into the situation, and it might be best just to sit on our hands at the minute for pound, because if we do get a little bit of a shock decision, and what if cable comes to about sort of the 126.50 before rebounding back to the upside, I'd be a little bit gutted if I'm in that position. So yeah, I think if I'm going to trade pound, I'm going to trade it against weaker currencies. So the pound CAD shout wasn't a bad one. I mean, that seems to be one of the only weak currencies at the moment. Euro's been a little bit weaker, so euro pound as well, which we kind of already discussed. CAD Swiss from Vincent. Right, let's have a little look. Let's see if I've got it open for one. If not, we might have to open a new chart. I've got CAD in there. Let's just bring in CAD Swiss. There we go. I'm guessing we're looking for some downside on CAD Swiss. Looks to be flying to the downside, doesn't it? To be fair, CAD being battered by the Swiss franc, isn't it? I think if we're going to look at it in isolation, you've got sort of... let me see if I can change this up for a moment. Drive into the low there. Pull back. Drive in. Rally. Where's this going to end up? Does it end up back at that low there? Does it then become a inverse head and shoulders pattern? Does it then start to trend higher potentially? If you're an intraday day trader and you can see that CAD is slightly weak at the moment, then you may want to consider looking at some short-term downside moves into the neckline of the pattern. So if we were to go into the hourly time frame, for instance, some big levels to work with. All these highs in here would be really great levels of support and resistance, to have a look at some shorts. You can also see as well, we've broken through. Let me go back to a 4 hour. 4 hours a little bit more cleaner. I mean, CAD Swiss isn't a market I particularly trade all the time. A little bit of a break of a range there. Could it trade back to 66.40? Definitely something to consider there as well. But it's quite nice. We're starting to get a little bit of a change in the markets at the moment. Like I said before, starting to see a little bit of volatility come into the markets, and whether that continues could give us our insights into what happened next. So if I were you, I'll be checking out the VIX index, the volatility index. I'll be watching this volatility index, seeing if we can trade past sort of the 17 area. Can we get higher than that? If it does, that could be a bit more sort of risk off in the markets, and it'll be interesting to see if that can sort of continue there. Any questions, guys? Right guy was looking at CAD Swiss, but missed it. Unlucky. Yeah, Denise, just watching this week. Yeah, absolutely. I'm on board with that. Very much on board with that. Like I said, I haven't really done much, sort of trading myself. So I do have a little strategy on euro dollar, which is trading euro futures, but I haven't even done much of that because the market of euro has pretty much gone sideways as well. I did get some nice shorts in up at 108.95, I think it was. So around this area here, managed to ride that down to the lows. But other than that, didn't really get much this week from a swing trading perspective. It's been pretty dull, actually. If I do say so myself, we need a little bit of life coming into these markets. Look at the DAX. Ooh, DAX taking a little bit of a turn here. Actually, was it Carrie? Was it you that was talking about DAX last week? We were talking about it being at these highs and that it could come back for a bit of a retest for a move. I think it was. Look at that. Boom. Big move to the downside there. Let's see if that can continue as well. I want a bit of stock markets to sort of implode a little. Would Bitcoin benefit off the back of this? Maybe still working within that range. Do I have any COT reports? I usually use, so the way I show you the seasonality stuff, that company Markets Made Clear, I usually use them for the COTs. I haven't actually checked it. Otherwise, the only free one that you can really get is from either from the Chicago Board of Exchange itself, but then you have to kind of digest all that information. So let's see if you can get it through the CME. But I think this is just a full breakdown. Select product. Let's see. Foreign exchange, FX majors. I mean, it's usually just futures. Oh, it is 60. Okay, so you may get. Let me show you this actually. I have to reshare the screen. Let me stop sharing. So I'm on the CME data. I've never actually looked at it from the CME point of view in terms of what they've got here. I've never actually seen this. I know that you can download the reports directly from the Chicago Board of Exchange, and then you can kind of make it into your own Excel spreadsheet. The problem is you need a lot of computer sort of RAM to do that. But it's got its own little sort of situation going on here where you've got... so basically what I went to was... I don't know what table is, but we can have a little look at the table. Okay, so that's given us long and short. Now, this is the natural gas commitment of traders. So what you have to do is go to group summaries, go to FX. Then we need to select a product up here. So we'll go to foreign exchange. So if you wanted to look at euro futures, for instance, here we go. I think if I click table, that'll be the euro COT summary futures. So this is kind of giving you the long, short, and the sort of total here. What is this? So what date is that? So that's the 27th of June 2023. So that'll be the latest update from the commitment to trader reports. So I wonder if we can get this into a chart then. What about chart versus future? Be good to turn some of these settings off, wouldn't it? I don't want the non-reportable or the reportable. So when was that? That was the 30th of May 2023. We're quite low there. This is the problem. So this is why I like using Markets Made Clear, because it gives you like these signals that you can have a look at as well. Problem is it's not a free product, so don't really want to keep showing you that when it's not free. The only other place I know of is barchart.com. I think it is Commitment to Trader reports. These guys put it in a bit of a different sort of way. Let's see if I can get this up as well. Sure, accept. So let's go take a look at gold, for instance. So I think we were looking at gold before, you see. We were looking at saying that when the short contracts were down at sort of minus 305s, that's when we had a big sort of move there. Again, a big move to the downside. And again, here, move to the downside. Again, but look at where the short contracts are placed. They're still at 175. You know, that's not particularly, you know, what I'd be looking for. I'd be looking for extremes, basically. You know, I want to see the extreme coming into play here. So if we did see sort of short down at minus 310, that'd give me a little bit more opportunity to be a seller of gold, for instance. But yeah, there's a multiple different ways you can do it. I will just copy and paste these into the chat box. Also the CME one as well. Have a little play around with those. If you can make a good sense of those, then by all means use them. This one may be a little bit more helpful if we could learn how to use it a bit more. Let's look at yen. Really speaking, for the yen, you would expect huge selling from the commitment of traders, the commercials, because price is so cheap, or the yen is so cheap. So you would expect quite a high don't know. I guess that is the is that OJ? Yeah. Probably gonna have to research that, but on barcharts.com. But yeah, right, okay, guys. So I'm gonna leave it there. Let me just stop sharing that. Let's bring back over the charts. I think it's probably a good idea to sit on our hands going into this week, really. Dollar all over the place. The big thing that I'm seeing at the moment is this sort of downside in the stock markets, which, you know, could be influenced by this huge move in the VIX. And if that continues to move to the upside, we could see the market move more into a risk-off situation. There is a table that tells last week and older and most recent figures. So it's probably either monitoring the change week to week, but the commitment of traders data is a week behind as well. For anybody that wants to know, it's always lagging behind a week, and it usually comes out on a Tuesday or Wednesday. So yeah, you're always a week behind on COT data. Okay. Always. Right then, guys, we've been going for about 50 minutes, and the internet's only gone once, which is a surprise to me, as probably as well to you. I'm going to leave it there. Thank you for joining me again this week. It's been really good. Really enjoyed your comments, questions. And I will see you next week. We're back up to normal setup next week. So, the internet will be better. We can go for a little bit longer probably. And we'll probably get some moves and action in the market. We haven't really had too much this week. So, let's see what happens there. Thanks, 𝖥𝖣yiy. Appreciate you coming as well. And appreciate you taking your time to come and watch. If you could just leave it a thumbs up, that would be amazing. And if you're not subscribed, please subscribe to the channel. Have a great rest of your week. Have a great weekend. Thank you, guys. So, yeah, thank you, 𝖥𝖣yiy. Thank you, Caro. Thank you, Denise. And, yeah, enjoy the rest of your weekend, guys. Bye.